Good evening, everybody. This is Rebecca with Red True Crime, and happy 2 days after Thanksgiving. So, yes, I do take a little bit of downtime for the holidays. Doesn't happen often, but I do. And, crime still happens. It definitely does. So, let's see here. Bear with me a second. I'm doing a little tweaking, and there we go. All right. So let's talk about this. You see the title on here. It's about a cautionary tale. And I think this particular case I'm going to talk about is by far a cautionary tale that ended with as positive an outcome as it possibly could have. And you're all going to be like, okay, Rebecca, what are you talking about? So recently, this has hit the headlines um, about 3 14-year-old girls from Bristol, Connecticut that were lured away from a sleepover and groomed via social media. They were subjected to repeated, um, physical assaults in the sexual nature, and there was human trafficking involved, and this took place in Hartford, Connecticut. Now, what the distance between Bristol and Hartford is, I have no idea, but, if it wasn't for the aunts of one girl, they may not have ever been found. So but you've gotta listen to the tale. So, the incident unfolded rapidly over the weekend in early May of 2025. So this happened, like, 6 months ago. And based on the warrant affidavits and the police statements, Thursday, May 1st, 2025, the 3 girls, all friends and residents of Bristol, and according to this, it's, 25 miles southwest of Hartford, were at a sleepover at one of their homes. One girl who had been in contact with an older acquaintance via social media for over a month convinced the others to leave the home and go for a joyride to smoke and chill. Now, keep in mind, they're 14 years old. So they were picked up and driven to a home in Hartford owned by Donovan Dunn. Now, where they entered his bedroom. Now, Dunn is 20 years old. Now they're 14. Not a great scenario, but it could be worse. Along with a guy by the name of Tajay Wilson. I'm probably butchering his name, and I apologize. He's 21. And there was another unidentified man there with the by the name of Ave or Avenue or Ave. They were all armed with guns and wearing ski masks. They attacked the girls, assaulted them, at least one of them, and then warrants state 4 or 5 adult males assaulted them as well. The girls disclosed their ages as 14, but Dunn later told associates they looked 16, downplaying the minor's status, which I don't know how you could even do that. So on May 2nd, the group moved the girls to a Super 8 hotel on West Service Road in Hartford. Now there, James Williams, 35. Actually, let me put a picture up here so you can see who I'm talking about here. Let's see. We're going to do this. There we go. So Donovan Dunn, you see there, and Tajay Wilson. Now these guys are 20 and 21 respectively. Now there is another gentleman that was there that's involved. He's 19 years old, but there's no photo of him. So I'm not sure why they've not released his photo. Okay, so on May 2nd of this year, they moved the girls to a Super 8 hotel on West Service Road in Hartford. There, James Williams, 35, and Bernard Mickens, 38, and Ahmad Compton, 36, arrived and assaulted these girls again. One man attempted to pay the girls afterwards. Now, later, the girls were taken to a trap house, which is a term for a location used for illicit activities, on Hilliard Street in Hartford, where further assaults occurred, including by Tyrod Jackson. Now, he's the one we don't have a picture for. He's 19, and Raheem Jones, 51, this old man in the photo. The perpetrators used force, including strangulation and unlawful restraint, and recorded some of the acts, and leading to a child sexual abuse material charges. Now, on Saturday, May 3rd, girls were moved to an apartment on Nelton Way in Hartford. A neighbor noticed them or spotted them and contacted one girl's mother. Two aunts of one victim, refusing to wait for police, canvassed the neighborhood, knocking on doors and questioning locals, which more power to these ladies. Guided by tips, they forced entry into the apartment, where they found the girls locked in a bedroom. Now, the girls were exhausted and traumatized per the warrants and were immediately taken to Connecticut Children's Medical Center for assault examinations and evidence collection. Police were called and the investigation began that day. Now, May through September of this year has all been investigating at this point. Um, the FBI plus some other local nonprofits were involved, built a case through victim interviews, digital forensics, tracking the social media lures, and surveillance. Arrest started in the summer of 2025, and Dunn was extradited from Port Charlotte, Florida. All seven were in custody by September 24th. Warrants were unsealed in late November, revealing the full details. Now we get to what's been hitting the news here lately. So, a press conference highlighted prevention efforts, and media outlets published warrant summaries emphasizing family intervention and the 200% rise in Connecticut trafficking probes from 2022 to 2024. Wow. Okay, that's a lot. So, the victims are three girls, all 14 years old. They're Bristol residents and mutual friends. Of course, because they're minors, their names are not going to get released. But they're vulnerable teens targeted via social media grooming. One had been messaged for over a month by the perpetrator posing as a peer. They were moved between at least four locations, and one of the victims actually referred to it as a joyride gone bad. Now, post rescue, they underwent medical and psychological evaluations at Connecticut Children's and now are receiving long term support from a survivor care organization. Um, Let me say this, this all starts on social media. I mean, I hate to say this, but our kids are raising themselves and are on social media way too much. And this has caused them to be disrespectful to adults, disrespectful to authority, and have this "I'm grown" kind of attitude. These three girls were taken for the purpose of being trafficked. Other interviews, other stories that have come out, this is something that they made very clear. We are going to charge people to money to be with you. And they couldn't get out. They couldn't get away from all this. The fact that they were only gone 2 days, now granted, they went through some trauma, I'm not gonna discount that, but the fact that they were gone for 2 days and they were found as quickly as they were is a miracle, because there's a lot of people out there that have gone down this road and they have still not been recovered. At least we can assume this is where they've gone down, because when people go missing, they don't come back. Oh, excuse me. Pardon me. When people go missing and they don't come back, trafficking is one of those possibilities of what happened to them. And 14-year-old girls, I mean, that's their prime bait. I mean, it is what it is. Now, when I started looking at the people involved in this and the charges, and I looked into their past, it is unbelievable. And I go back to hearkening, why aren't people who are involved in dangerous crimes or dangerous um no, basically dangerous crimes, physical assaults, robbery, guns, all that stuff. Why are they allowed on the streets? That's what I wanna know. That is what I wanna know. Because the 3, 4 oldest in this whole thing, in this whole mess, because 3 of these guys were basically kids, 19, 20, and 21. The others were all over the age of 30, including Mr. Jones here, who's in his 50s. And every single one of these guys have got a massive, massive criminal history. And had they, one, been kept away, these girls may not have been lured out. But on the other side of this too, if people are watching their kids, if they're going through their social media, they're tracking them like they should and not leave them to their own devices, this may not have ever happened. I'm gonna say this. I mean, no parent can watch their kid 24/7. I'm not gonna lie about that. But people need to be more diligent than what they are. Because it seems like these kids, once they get old enough to get a Facebook account or a Twitter account or a TikTok account, we kinda leave them alone, and they're feeling way grown, way too soon, and they're still children. If you are young enough to be having sleepovers, you are definitely way too young to be out messing around, smoking weed, going for joyrides, and drinking with older men. 'Cause it does say in one story that I read that when they first got to the first location after the joyride, they said the intimacy was consensual. I don't give a damn if it was consensual. You're a child. You can't consent to anything. But these kids were found. These kids were found, these men were arrested, and most likely would be going to jail for a very, very, very long time as well as they should. Now they just need to wrap up and get everybody else that's involved in this mess, because 'cause I'm sure there's gonna be more people they're gonna go get. I hope so anyway. So, but cautionary tale, watch your kids, know who they're talking to, because these girls got lucky that the family was on it and was investigating immediately. There are a lot of other people out there that weren't so lucky. Let's look at some other cases like, Tiara Cacique Williams, who's been missing since 2016, I believe, or 2017. She is definitely somebody that I feel went down, got taken into that trafficking world. She was young, she was pretty, and she got grabbed. She's only 19 years old. So I can guarantee you she's probably one that went down that road. And it makes me wonder of all the teens that go missing in this country, how many of them have met some online friend and, because my family doesn't get me, my teachers don't get me, I'm always in trouble. How many of them end up in this world of trafficking? Just how many? Never to be seen again. Food for thought. So, as I end this, this is Rebecca with Red True Crime. Watch your kids, love your kids, and question your kids because it could be that questioning that saves them from something like this. Doesn't mean that you don't trust them, and the kids need to understand that just because you're asking questions does not mean they can't be trusted, but you're just keeping a lookout, and that's what you need to do. So as I always say, everybody, Red Army, as I call you all, be weird, be rude, be safe. Keep an eye on your kids, and drop a comment. Do you think social media is the problem with this, or do you think there's more things involved make things that can make things worse? I don't know. Just give me your thoughts. Love to hear it. And everybody, have a great night, and I'll be back later.